paradox of Black women's entrepreneurship, rising fast, failing faster. Welcome, everyone. Today, I want to take you on a journey through a paradox that's hiding in plain sight across America. It's a story of extraordinary ambition colliding with systemic barriers, a tale of the fastest growing entrepreneurial force in our nation facing the steepest climb to profitability. I'm thrilled to share insights from my recent conversation with LaWanda Taylor, whose groundbreaking work has transformed the landscape for Black women entrepreneurs nationwide. LaWanda isn't just an advocate, she's a visionary who has dedicated her life to dismantling the invisible barriers that keep talented women from turning brilliant ideas into sustainable wealth. Her pioneering research and community building initiatives have created pathways where only walls once stood, illuminating truths that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about success and opportunity in America. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Black women are currently the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States. That sounds like incredible news, right? A triumph worth celebrating. But here's where things get complicated and where Lawanda's insights become so crucial. Despite this remarkable growth, only 15% of these businesses report turning a profit compared to significantly higher rates for their white counterparts. Think about that for a moment. The most entrepreneurial demographic in America is also the least likely to succeed financially from their ventures. This isn't just a statistic, it's a story about promise and obstacles existing side by side, about determination meeting systemic resistance. As Lawanda explained during our conversation, growth does not automatically translate to equity. The surge in Black women starting businesses demonstrates extraordinary innovation and drive, but the structures around them, access to capital, networks, and resources, haven't evolved at the same pace. This reality disrupts the comfortable narrative we often tell ourselves about entrepreneurship in America, that grit and good ideas are all you need to succeed. The truth is more nuanced, more challenging, and demands our attention. During my interview with Lawanda, three powerful insights emerged that I believe can transform how we understand and address these disparities. First, growth without structural change doesn't guarantee equity. The impressive rise in Black women's entrepreneurship reveals tremendous ambition and capability. But systemic obstacles, particularly around funding and profitability, remain formidable hurdles. Second, community support and culturally attuned networks matter profoundly. Success for Black professionals often hinges on access to mentorship and resources that understand their specific challenges and strengths. And third, collective action fuels meaningful change. When we support organizations led by and for our communities, we create powerful ripple effects that address broader social issues while empowering leaders who reflect those communities. Let me share some real world examples that illustrate these principles in action. Consider Walker's Legacy, a national organization founded by Natalie Madeira Cofield, named after Madam C.J. Walker, the first self made female millionaire in America. This organization emerged because Cofield recognized a critical gap. Few spaces existed specifically for multicultural women founders. I want you to imagine what it feels like to walk into a room of investors where no one looks like you, where your business model serving your community is questioned as niche, where you're told your hair is unprofessional in the same meeting where you're pitching your life's work. This was the daily reality for members of Walker's Legacy. These women faced significant challenges, particularly limited access to venture capital and business networks due to racial bias. But rather than accepting these barriers, they created solutions that were both practical and transformative. Tailored mentorship programs, networking events with investors who understood cultural nuances, and online educational resources specifically designed for business development in underserved communities. The results speak volumes. Over 10 years, thousands of Black female founders accessed critical funding opportunities through this network. Many reported increased confidence navigating pitch competitions and applying for grants. The organization hosted annual summits featuring high profile speakers, facilitated partnerships with corporations seeking supplier diversity, and helped members secure more than $2 million in new contracts collectively each year. Perhaps most importantly, Walker's legacy normalized conversations about wealth building among Black women professionals nationwide. This wasn't just about individual businesses succeeding, it was about changing the entire ecosystem. Another powerful example comes from the Fearless Fund, established by Ariane Simone as a venture capital fund investing exclusively in businesses led by women of color. Simone created this fund after her own experiences raising money revealed stark disparities between how investors responded to pitches from white led versus minority led teams, even when credentials and business models were remarkably similar. Despite being highly qualified founders with scalable ideas, applicants to traditional venture capital firms struggle to secure backing, largely due to implicit bias within investment circles. The Fearless Fund addressed this by focusing on early stage investments paired with hands on coaching from experienced executives. They also advocated publicly for more equitable funding practices industry wide. As of 2023, portfolio companies under the Fearless Fund had created hundreds of jobs within underserved communities. The fund closed multiple seven figure fundraising rounds, featured prominently at national innovation conferences, and influenced peer funds' diversity mandates. Perhaps most significantly, it helped shift perceptions among mainstream VCs regarding the profitability potential within minority founded startups. These examples illustrate a crucial truth that Lawanda emphasized in our conversation. The barriers facing Black women entrepreneurs aren't about capability or commitment. They're about systems that weren't designed with their success in mind. But there's another dimension to this story that deserves our attention. Many Black women are balancing entrepreneurship with community leadership and activism, creating multiple pathways for change. Take the example of Mothers Against Gun Violence, a grassroots nonprofit led by mothers impacted directly or indirectly by gun violence within their communities. Many of this founding members began organizing informally before establishing a formal structure following several high profile incidents affecting families personally known through church and business circles. What makes this case particularly relevant is that many leaders within this organization are also small business owners, balancing activism with entrepreneurship. They face unique challenges, overcoming stigma surrounding activism while running businesses and securing initial funding sources beyond local donations. Their innovative solutions demonstrate the power of community centered approaches. They leverage storytelling campaigns, highlighting lived experiences, and partnered with local enterprises owned or operated by members for mutual promotion. This increased visibility led media outlets to cover both their anti gun violence efforts and economic empowerment stories, connecting these narratives in powerful ways. The organization launched citywide resource fairs, connecting survivors' families with legal aid and job training services co sponsored by member businesses. This fostered cross sector collaboration between advocacy groups and small enterprise communities, demonstrating that holistic approaches work best against systemic issues affecting marginalized populations. As Lawanda pointed out during our conversation, when Black women lead, they rarely lead for themselves alone. Their entrepreneurial journeys often intertwine with community uplift and social justice, creating complex but potentially transformative paths forward. So, what does all this mean for us? How do we respond to these realities? First, we must acknowledge that celebrating entrepreneurial growth among Black women, while important, isn't enough. We need to address the structural barriers that prevent that growth from translating into sustainable profits and wealth creation. Second, we need to recognize the power of culturally attuned networks and resources. Organizations like Walker's Legacy and the Fearless Fund succeed because they understand the specific challenges facing Black women entrepreneurs and design solutions accordingly. Third, we must support collective action and community led initiatives that address interconnected issues. When we invest in organizations led by those most affected by problems, we enable more authentic and effective solutions. So I stand before you today with a challenge to see beyond the inspirational headlines about entrepreneurial growth and confront the uncomfortable truth of what happens after the business cards are printed and the websites launch. A challenge to question why we celebrate the hustle without examining the harvest. The paradox I've shared today isn't just about Black women entrepreneurs, it's about all of us. It's about the stories we tell ourselves about merit and opportunity in America. It's about the gap between what we say we value and what our systems actually support. I want you to leave here today not just informed, but disturbed. Disturbed enough to ask different questions, disturbed enough to examine your own sphere of influence. If you're an investor, are you questioning your pattern recognition? If you're a business leader, are you creating genuine pathways or performative programs? If you're a consumer, where are your dollars flowing? As Lawanda so powerfully stated, the true measure of progress isn't in how many businesses we start, but in how many we sustain and grow into vehicles for generational wealth. This isn't just about economic justice, it's about unlocking potential that benefits us all. When we remove the structural barriers facing Black women entrepreneurs, we don't just change their outcomes, we expand the horizon of innovation for our entire society. So I leave you with this call to action: commit to being more than an observer of this paradox, become a disruptor of it, whether through your purchasing power, your investment decisions, your hiring practices, or your advocacy. Find your leverage point and use it. Because a world where the most entrepreneurial among us can also be the most successful isn't just a more equitable world. It's a more prosperous, innovative, and vibrant one for everyone. Thank you.